What is up, guys? In today's video I'm going to be talking about Fortnite's new human-like aim assist update. There's a thread the main developer put out I'm going to read and kind of talk about, and then I'm going to go over my experience with the update and what I think of it. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you think of this update. And I'm actually very curious to know a few things. If you guys do comment, let me know whether or not you're a console player or a controller on PC player, and whether or not you play with linear or expo. If you've never changed it, you're an expo player, like the default is expo, but let me know that as well. I personally play controller on PC and I play on linear settings, so that may impact kind of how it feels to me versus other people. And I'm interested to see if there's any sort of trend where like maybe console players feel much worse with it, or expo players, or anything like that. It's just what I'm curious. Let me know down in the comments below. And now we're going to read the thread the main developer put out. So this is what Jib said about the new human-like aim assist changes. He said, human-like aim assist is live in Fortnite. This was mostly my baby, so I'm super excited about it. For most players, this will be a very subtle change, but there's a lot of questions about, is it better or is it worth? What is it? So I thought I would flesh it out a bit. And then there's like the basic patch notes that Fortnite put out. This thread isn't an official Epic thing, but I am the main developer behind it, so let's clarify a couple of things. First, human-like is new, and as far as I know, no one else does it, but most of Fortnite's aim assist is unchanged. Aim assist will mostly feel the same, and I actually agree with that. Second, we don't take aim assist changes lightly. This wouldn't have been possible without the support of the balance design team, producers, directors, Q&A, helpful research by UXR, in months and months of internal company-wide testing. Third, who is it better for, controller players or non-controller players? Well, both. But first we'll talk about a bit from first we need to talk about a bit about one of the challenges of balancing aim assist. Every game's aim assist is a bit different, but generally standard aim assist has a problem. Because aim assist knows exactly where your target is moving at every moment, it gives players superhuman help. It can at times make aiming sticky in a way that is literally impossible for unassisted human players to match. How much superhuman help is fair? None. Balance folks do a great job anyways finding a balance of assistance for controller players without squeezing mouse and keyboard players out of the game. But in every cross-platform game with aim assist, there's tension between what's comfortable for controller and what's fair against mouse. The goal of human-like aim assist is to remove the superhuman factor from aim assist. We take away that impossible stickiness by carefully modeling how a human reaction time works, at least in cases where it's consistently predictable. There's always going to be some tension between how much assistance is suitable for controller and what's unfair for cross-device play. But by removing most or all of the superhumanness of aim assist, we remove a lot of that tension. Standard aim assist is typically most noticeable when it's giving that superhuman help. In our testing, human-like aim assist is much less noticeable, even though it does just as much work, which probably means it's much better at matching player intent moment to moment. Human-like aim assist won't make easy shots any harder than they used to be, but it will drastically reduce humanly impossible tracking when targets suddenly change direction, and this means that ultimately it should be better for controller players and non-controller players. By mostly removing the superhuman stickiness, this effectively gives us a new dial to tweak aim assist that isn't stronger or weaker. It's instead more or less human-like, and we've put it at the fast end of human reflexes, so it should never get in the way of your own skill. We've introduced this mid-season so we can better compare player performance before and after. I don't know exactly how we'll tune things. That'll depend on how player performance changes and the discernment of our excellent balanced designers. But I'm sure by removing the impossible superhumanness of aim assist, this will help us improve the feel of aiming for controller players and the competitive integrity for playing against mouse and keyboard at the same time. Feedback is always appreciated. Something a few folks are already missing: we're not finished tuning aim assist. You want more help on controller, we have to take out what's unfair and impossible to balance first. This is what human-like aim assist does. So my basic understanding of this, and I feel like this statement is very confusing. Like I feel like you could read this and not really understand what's going on just as a player. But my understanding is that, like, you've probably seen some clips of kind of really crazy aim assist, especially in Call of Duty. I've seen a lot of clips of like the snap auto rotation where it will literally follow players moving perfectly. I feel like Fortnite hasn't had much of any of that in a while. And I guess this update further removed that. I feel like as far as like cross-platform battle royales currently available, Fortnite's aim assist was on like the lower end of things. I feel like Apex and Warzone, I see much more kind of like crazy aim assist clips and much more, you know, controller being relevant in the higher tiers. But this, my understanding of this basically is they're trying to remove that, the, you know, the snap following, the perfect matching of player changing direction immediately. Like I said, I feel like that wasn't even there already, and that's maybe why I don't really notice much of a change with this update. But that is the dev's explanation of it, and my basic understanding of this is that it's trying to remove the snap, the snap following and changes in direction that wouldn't be capable for a human player, while not also nerfing controller into the ground. And one thing that I think is very relevant is that they're not finished tuning aim assist. Aussie kind of talked about this in one of his videos, and I actually really agreed with his opinion. Aussie Antics. He said that if they didn't acknowledge that there was a problem with controller performance and wanting it to improve, because if you guys don't know, there was only 4 players on controller at the global LAN this year. Out of 100 players, only 4 were controller. So it's not like controller is some dominant beast that needs to be nerfed. If they're making changes, it's probably because they want controller to be more relevant. And this first kind of step might not be the greatest update for controller, but they're open to making changes, and just by nature of the fact of them doing something, they're probably trying to make controller more relevant. So that is the devs kind of post about it and my thoughts on the post. I'm going to cut back to some gameplay and kind of talk about my experience since this update came out and what I've noticed with the new human-like aim assist. So as far as my experience with the new human-like aim assist, I feel mostly the same, and I felt pretty much the same immediately when playing the new update. And I went into this expecting it to be a drastic change and expecting it to feel bad and be a nerf to controller players. And I think that's important to say, because something like aim assist and just the feel of the game, I feel like is so susceptible to like placebo and your mindset going into it. Like if you are told something changes and it feels different, I feel like you're going to be like looking for it to change or feel different, you know? And if you expect it to not feel good, you're probably going to, you know, not have a good time. And I went in thinking it was going to be a nerf, but I pretty much immediately when playing with the new update felt just fine playing the game. I didn't have to change any settings or take time to adjust to it. I just felt fine playing right away. So I think that is a very good change. Like I already said, I was someone who is very susceptible to not being happy with this update. As far as the things that are most noticeable to me with this change, I'm going to say that fighting in and around bushes feels much better. It's not just like incredibly strong aim assist that you could just drag over a bush and find somebody, but it's not just literally 0 like it was before if you were looking into a bush or you were in a bush looking out. So I think that's good. Hipfire on the striker burst AR feels much better to me, but aimed in it still feels the same as it did before the update. I've heard people say that it works better when looking through windows now than it did in the past, and I haven't really been in a situation to like try that, but that wouldn't surprise me if it was the case, because like fighting in and around windows has just been a problem for Fortnite ever since it came out. You just got 0 aim assist, and then they fixed it sometimes, and then that problem came back. It's a very weird like history of that problem. So maybe aim assist works through windows now, like the built windows and houses. I'm not talking about the window you edit. The window you edit was always fine, but like the houses and buildings, or like, you know, the raft, how there's like those bars and the jail cells, like things like that would just ruin aim assist before. I've also seen a lot of people saying it feels a lot better at like medium and long range now. And I would say I would agree with that, but it's not like an absurd difference to me. So maybe like I was just influenced by seeing other people say that and then just like, yeah, it feels good. I'm someone who is already like pretty solid with the ARs anyways, so it's not like I was really struggling there, but medium and long range does feel fine. I've also seen people saying that it feels terrible up close, like literally 0 aim assist. And that hasn't really been my experience at all. And I've been in some pretty close range situations since this update and since this change. So I'm not sure if anything changed there or if I just haven't experienced that or what. Also, to me, aim assist feels a lot more consistent since this update. And I don't mean consistent as in like stronger or weaker. Like I just mean like I'm getting in less situations where I just full on lose aim assist. I don't know. I'm sure if you guys play on controller, especially controller on PC, you've experienced times where it randomly, you have no aim assist in the middle of a fight, and that's really detrimental because you're expecting to be aiming with one sensitivity and then it's much higher. If you're a mouse and keyboard player, imagine if your DPI was just randomly different in the middle of a fight. Like, it would really throw you off, you know? I haven't experienced that as much with this update. I don't know if I've just been lucky the past 2 days or what. You know, that's definitely a possibility. But to me, things feel a lot more consistent, which I think is good. And so overall, how I feel about these changes is I feel mostly the same. Like, there was a few little positives I touched on, like the bushes, the hip fire and the striker burst, maybe the consistency. But it's not like a night and day difference, like, to controller. And so it does feel different, but effectiveness wise, it feels the same. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, if controller was a 5 out of 10 before, I feel like it's still a 5 out of 10 with this update. It's not like they pushed it all the way to a 10 out of 10 or nerfed it all the way to a 0. It's different, but I feel like in effectiveness, it's still mostly the same. So I think that is a good change. And also, when talking to other, you know, good controller players or seeing other, like, streamers and content creators post about it, a lot of people seem to be feeling the same way that I do, where it's still mostly the same. Like, you can tell a difference, but it isn't really like a make or break difference for most people from what I've seen. I have seen people out there just saying it feels absolutely terrible. I don't really know why that would be the case. Like I said, to me, I changed nothing. I just hopped on and felt great. And I know a lot of other people who experienced the same thing. But that is going to be it for this video. I just wanted to go over what the aim assist changes were. It's really hard to talk about, like I kind of touched on with the section where I was reading the developer's post. It's a lot of kind of terminology and things that I feel like doesn't make sense to people who, like, don't make video games or aren't, like, actively involved in the decision making of this change. But just in general, I feel like the goal was to reduce some of the craziness of aim assist and, like, the snappy immediate adjustments that it could potentially make for controller players, while retaining the feel of aiming on controller and not really just, like, making controller worthless. And I guess they've achieved that. Obviously, it would be great for me if they buffed it, and I would appreciate that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this change down in the comments below. If you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.